The answer to fat loss has become very confusing and frustrating over time. This is mainly due to the misinformation that's being spread on the internet, putting us in the situation we are today where people are struggling to drop body fat and keep it off. I'm about to show you the only real answer to fat loss, so you'll never be lost or confused ever again. And I'm going to explain it in very simple and straightforward terms, so straight after this video, you can go away and start making progress with your fat loss goals. Now, if you'd like to skip this process and get everything that I'm about to talk about in a nice little written document that you can easily follow, then grab the link in my description and I'll send you my free fat loss blueprint. But we need to start at the very beginning, the fundamentals of fat loss, which is energy balance. This is the difference between the amount of energy we take in and the amount of energy we expend. If we take in more energy than we expend, we're in a positive energy balance or a surplus. If we take in the same amount of energy as we expend, we're in a neutral energy balance or maintenance. And if we take in less energy than we expend, we are in a negative energy balance or a deficit. It is only in a deficit where we will see a fat loss response. In a surplus, we'd see the opposite, weight gain, and at maintenance, we'd see everything remain pretty stable over time. If we are not in a deficit or negative energy balance, we will not drop body fat. Now, before we move on to how we can adjust these two sides of the equation to put ourselves into a deficit and drop body fat, let me just blow your mind real quick in regards to the fitness industry. Every diet you see, every wacky or weird approach to fat loss that you hear of are all trying to do the exact same thing. Put you into a calorie deficit. That's how they work. Now, the issue with most of these diets and extreme approaches is just that they're unsustainable. So sure, people might see an initial fat loss response, but they can't keep that body fat off for very long. So how do we achieve both fat loss and sustainability? Well, let's start with the energy in or food side of the equation. Now, most people will try and overcomplicate this by telling you need to control your insulin and glucose levels or remove certain food groups. But I'm going to keep this real simple and tell you the truth. Now, we know energy is important and we know we need to be taking in less energy than we expend to put ourselves into a calorie deficit. Therefore, when it comes to food intake, we need to find a method that allows us to control and likely reduce our total calorie intake. That's it. But we also need to make sure we're using a method that we can sustain. And how you do this is completely up to you. Methods I like to use with clients include tracking calories, using food journals or diaries, using portion guides, or general guidelines when it comes to daily and meal intake. There are many options out there and you simply have to find one that works for you and allows you to sustain your results. But this is the most fundamental level of food intake. Forget everything else initially, because without the control and reduction of your food intake over time, without being in a calorie deficit, you will not drop body fat. Now, moving on to the other side of the equation, energy expenditure. Again, we're going to keep this real simple. And again, at the fundamental levels, the details don't matter. It's not about certain types of exercise. It's not about timing of exercise. It's not about the amount of reps and sets you need to do. It's about consistency with your daily and weekly output. Here's how we can do it. Set a daily activity or step target. You can use steps or mainly time that you spend actively moving, but set a target that is slightly more than where you are right now. So if you do 5,000 steps, maybe bump that up to 6,000 a day. If you walk actively for 30 minutes a day, maybe bump that up to 40 minutes. From there, if possible, we need to create a realistic workout routine. Now, don't set any unrealistic targets. We need to make sure we're staying consistent. Now, this might look like going to the gym 3 times a week, doing 45 minutes of weight training and 15 minutes of cardio. Don't get caught up in the details of training just yet. Just stay consistent. From here, if you need to increase things over time, you can. Now, if you gain control of both sides of the equation, like we've just spoken about in this video, you will be able to create a deficit and you will be able to get a fat loss response. You'll also be able to find a method that works for you and allows you to sustain your results afterwards. Now, as a final note, this isn't to say there aren't other important things and things that's going to help you get better results, like protein, like sleep, and the quality of your weight training. But if getting caught up in these details takes you away from consistency with the fundamentals, creating a deficit, then they'll actually make your fat loss harder. Nail the basics first, a deficit, and then add on from there. Now, if you did find this video helpful, please do drop a like because it helps me. And again, if you do want that free fat loss blueprint, it's down below in the description. Don't forget to subscribe so you can keep up to date with other helpful information for your fat loss. And I'll see you on the next one.